Welcome to this lecture. In this lecture, I'm going to outline the characteristic of RISC-V, and then I'm going to introduce the several key features of RISC-V architecture. So RISC-V was started as a 3-month project in 2010 at UC Berkeley, and one of the primary features of RISC-V architecture is high quality and license-free and royalty-free and instruction set architecture. What I mean is that you can pull the source code of hardware description language or compiler or any tool to design your computer using this kind of tool that is open to the public. So it is most important characteristic that can be used in various chipset maker. So, and I can say that RISC-V is available fully under permissive license. And if you're new to the RISC-V architecture and some of the engineers call the RISC-V rather than RISC-V, remember that the official pronunciation of this term is RISC-V rather than RISC-V. And talking about design philosophy of RISC, a RISC can be seen in the computer architecture book. And what I mean is that RISC is one of the way to design the CPU computer, which stands for Reduced Instruction Set Computer. And most important, most widely mentioned CPU processor that follow the philosophy of the RISC is ARM processor and the MIPS processor. And as for RISC-V architecture, RISC-V architecture follow the principle of RISC principle because key feature of RISC-V architecture, which include design of register, assembly instruction, or another key features follow the concept of RISC rather than CISC. And Intel x86 processor is one of the key primary example that use another philosophy that is CISC rather than RISC. So every time you have the talk about the nature of RISC-V architecture, and I want you to think about two things. The first thing is RISC-V architecture is open instruction set architecture, and second thing is RISC-V architecture follow the philosophy of RISC. And then this slide is containing some of the contents inside Wikipedia, which introduced the history of RISC-V. And RISC-V was first designed in 2010 by this professor. And then the first version of RISC-V was RISC-1, and RISC-2, and RISC-3, and RISC-4. So currently, and we can call RISC-V rather than RISC-4, RISC-3, RISC-2. So inventor of RISC-V architecture is 3 developers, and those 3 developers are playing important role in the various chipset maker, and some of them became the CTO at Sci-Fi, which is one of the key primary chipset maker which design their own chipset using RISC-V hardware tool or hardware description language. And then after they implement the RISC-V architecture in 2010, and then RISC-V became the popular in school and industry. So many people, including professor, researcher, and chipset maker, wanted to do some sort of the foundation to support the feature of the RISC-V architecture. So that led to the creation of RISC-V Foundation in 2015. So number of chipset maker and the software distributor and the car OEM and another some big tech company have joined the membership of RISC-V Foundation. So please take a look at this. Qualcomm, NVIDIA, IBM, MediaTek, and Samsung, and NXP, Sci-Fi, and all these are very big tech companies have joined the RISC-V Foundation. The official name of RISC-V Foundation is RISC-V International rather than RISC-V Foundation. So if you visit the website of RISC-V International, and you can see that name of the RISC-V Foundation became RISC-V International. So from now on, I'm going to use this name, that is RISC-V International. So in this tutorial video, I introduced some of the primary characteristics of RISC-V architecture and outlining the history of RISC-V. The next lecture, I'm going to talk about the ecosystem in the RISC-V architecture, consisting of chipset maker, open source project, community, software distributor, and car OEM, and a lot of OEM companies